Yes, everybody who says they're going to Irish goodbye, I wish they would Japanese goodbye themselves. That's a good way. I think that's
Yeah. Yeah.
Give it loud everybody for Anthony Eugenio. We're having next time. Very funny. Wayne Russell, everybody.
Welcome to the Open Mic Pain with Anthony and Wayne podcast.
Did you guys see the roast that Sam Morrill, Mark Norman, Jeff Ross, all that did? Did you watch any of that?
The roast of 2024.
Yeah.
I saw little clips. I didn't even know it was a thing. I saw little clips. I didn't watch the whole thing.
I watched the Sam Morrill and I watched that section of it. But,
It was pretty cool. I watched them
work
work out that set at the Comedy Store. Like, they released a video afterwards of them doing the workout set for that, and it was really interesting because they went out big pop because of who they are out to the original room in the Comedy Store, but then they started like, they just took out pieces of paper and they went, "Hey, this is a roast. We're roasting Jeff Ross. Remember, like, imagine this is Jeff Ross," and then they just started doing jokes about how Jeff has cancer. And they're like, he's going to announce he has cancer. It's not going to be that funny, but this is going to be the funny part. And then they did their jokes and all that. And it was really interesting to see because, like, they still, like, they were doing stand-up, but it was in a style where they're just like, imagine I went up and I was like, all right, here's a joke. Listen to this joke and let me know what you think about it. And then I did the joke. It's such a weird style.
Yeah.
Running. So, John, you run Hotel Vernon, is right? Down in Worcester, Mass?
Yep.
So one of the coolest things that I've seen so far, being in the world of comedy, was going to the Luna Theater in Lowell. And Steve Bjork was the headliner that night, and he was working on this joke about ultrasounding his testicles. And he did really good, but he wasn't happy with it. He's like, you know what, guys, I'm gonna do that again. I'm working this out. I got you're a captive audience. I would do it again. And then at that time, 2 people walked in. He's like, you know what? You're my audience now. And he did it again. It was like 1,000 times better the second time. And then months later, I saw him. I forget where else. I saw him somewhere else, but he had that joke. What I thought was like 100% fat trimmed, just fucking incredible. Then I saw him months later do it again, and I was like, I don't know how you made it better, but it's fucking better. That was a long way of saying running an open mic. You must see that with like so much more. I think that's one of the most fun parts of comedy is watching your friends and your peers come up with this idea, and you're like, that's probably pretty funny, or maybe it's not, and then just see where they go with it. And running an open mic, that's going to be incredible to watch that weekly.
Incredible is a strong word. Doing a lot of heavy lifting. But I'll tell you, so when I moved back to Worcester, I lived in Phoenix for about 8 years, almost 10 years. And when I moved back, I took over an open mic down when we were at the Attic in Worcester. And the people who are regulars at the open mic now that I do every week at the Hotel Vernon started there. And now I'm starting to see them, like, get feature spots. Some of them are even like starting to like low key headline like bar shows and stuff. So there are times when I'm like sitting in the back of the room and I'm going, "That's my boy," and it's like Phil from Hercules. But like, yeah. And now we also have like a new group of people who are like learning how to tell a joke in real time.
Yeah.
And even in like the last, I'd say like 3 or 4 weeks, people have been starting to like pick it up and like understand how to write, how to trim fat, how to like do it. And it is an interesting way to see it. And then, like, I don't see my own progress as much as I wish, like I made. Does that make sense? But like, I see everybody else's. Like, I try to write new stuff every week. I try to write at least 3 new things throughout the week and try them. And again, that must feel incredible. Again, heavy lifting word.
How long have you been doing stand-up?
2 answers. One, I stepped on my first open mic stage on 2013 in September. And then I did it a couple of times. I did it for like maybe 3 months and said, I'm not jaded enough and I don't really have any stories.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started going out to like open mics more, and I signed up to do a couple of bringer shows in Phoenix. And then once I started doing those, that's when I started doing it in 2016 regularly or as I would say it, minus the pandemic, I was on stage at least twice to three times a week since 2017. So it's like,
So I guess it would be a little tougher to see your progress at that point, right? I feel like in the beginning,
yeah.
it's like my
Well,
son's
it's like I got two different like groups of people. Like I
Yeah.
started somewhere else. I cut my teeth in Phoenix, so I kind of already had like an understanding of what comedy was. I'd gone through classes. I did the open mic thing. I hosted shows.
Mm-hmm.
So I ran the whole gambit down there. But when I came back here, now I'm more focused on like producing and getting the name out there, getting like the brand out there, because it's like I got something to show people. Now I want them to come and see it.
Yeah.
So it's like it's just the focus has changed, where it's like it's not so much worrying about is it going to be funny, more is it's like do we have people to see these funny things. So it's been a long road getting from there to here.
Yeah, I think I kind of like
COVID
it. So
comedy.
like my son's in kindergarten now, so he's learning all kinds of things like reading and writing. He's starting to learn a little bit of math and stuff. Everything is so incredible. I'm like, oh my god, you're so smart. I know as he gets older and he's like, hey, I learned this in science, and I'm like, yeah, whatever, dude. I learned it like 20 years ago. Go fuck yourself.
Yeah,
You're in the go fuck yourself stage now.
pretty much.
What was it like to go
I'm-
4 years in and then have to completely stop for COVID? What did you do during that time?
I had just gotten a job at a comedy club as a door guy. So it was kind of like a
Shit.
drop kick in the teeth. Yeah, I was like, I even remember saying like, I don't think I'm ever going to have like a regular job again. Like I'm not going to be like a fry cook. I'm not going to be a sweeper or janitor. I'm going to work in comedy. And then I got the job in November, and then March we shut down, and that was fun. But I also experienced the pandemic in Arizona, so we were open within a month with like social distancing. At the comedy club I was at in Tempe Improv, my job was after and between shows go around and spray everything down with disinfectant and sanitizer, and then somebody would come by me with a rag, so we would do like every other booth. But it was just like it was fun working in that, and then we didn't have any open mics, so it was like it was kind of weird. Like I grew comfortable with people, and then all of a sudden I'm not seeing them every week. It was kind of like a little bit of a culture shock. I was like, and I remember saying it on Facebook. I was like, I miss seeing you people every night. So it was like, it was fun. But and then
It's a hell of a club,
I think,
too.
yeah, and yeah. Then we came back, and then the guy said, I don't think we're going to shut down again. And then 3 weeks later, everything was like, you have to shut down. We're doing another lockdown. And then once that one ended, we were back up again. And then I moved to a different comedy club. They were doing the outside shows. Like they had a scissor lift. And I still have a video of it. But it's a comic from Phoenix. And they're raising the scissor lift into the parking lot so people like 300 yards away, like 100 yards away could see him. But he also had like a belt, like kind of like Lloyd has. So he's like raising the belt as the scissor lift is like lifting, and he's like holding it above his head, and everybody's like honking their horn, flashing their lights, and it was kind of a trippy scene to be in. But then like 2 weeks after that, we got kind of back to normal. Like before the pandemic, we would be able to do 6 mics on a Wednesday, all drivable. Some of them were even like on the same street, so you'd sign up at 1, run up the street to the Quail Lounge, and then run back down to Boycott. I know these names don't mean anything to anybody in New England, but whatever. just if you've been in one dive bar, you've been in 50 of them. So it's like,
Yes.
yeah. So it's like that. I'm currently at a music open mic outside my dive bar where I like run the shows and stuff. So I don't know what it is about comedy in a dive bar. It's exactly where it's supposed to be. It's not supposed to be in a sterile environment. It's supposed to be kind of seedy.
Yeah, Chinese
Something like
restaurants
it.
are the fucking shit.
Oh my! I just booked one down in where is it, Kingston. And I love a comedy show in a Chinese food restaurant. It is the best.
I've seen the pictures
Mai
of that
Tais
one
and
in Worcester.
dumplings.
It looks amazing. Is it Sweet and Sour, right? Is that the name of it?
Oh no, that's the one out in Kingston, Sweet and Sour. Yeah, Kingston, Mass.
Yeah, sorry, I thought you just said something.
That's American Federation of Comedy, right? Matt Devlin and
Yeah,
Andrew. I
Pujol.
I did I did one show for them down I forget where it was, but it was just that, it was a dive bar. And I was like, oh man, this can be tough because TV's everywhere, kind of a loud crowd. And I was like, oh shit. And the
Yeah,
second Matt Devlin got on the microphone, he was like, hey guys, we're going to start comedy. Everybody shut the fuck up and looked. I was like, holy fuck. This is I've never seen that before.
he's also an imposing human being, so you don't.
Yeah.
he's a, he looks like he's from the Revenant, like, and he's like fighting Leonardo DiCaprio, which would make him the bear. But like, so it's like I like the chaos of that sometimes, where it's like people come in, they talk, and then I engage with them. I'm nicer about it than most people. I'll tell people, from being a door guy, you have to tell people to like shut the hell up, but you also don't want to take away their whole fire of the
Yeah.
night, because then you can really tank a fucking person's whole week if you tell them to shut the fuck up in the wrong way.
Yeah.
My way of doing it, and put this in your or put this in your book. It's hey guys, I want to make sure you have a good night, but what's happening can't happen. If I have to come over here, we're gonna have one more conversation. Then it's gonna have to escalate from that. But I want to make sure you have a good night. You come in to see some good shows. So this is kind of like what we're gonna do. At an open mic, I just say, hey, why are you talking? I'm known for at open mics for like shushing people.
Mhm.
Like, oh, shh, shh, shh,
I like it. I like how you beat around there. You're right to say that you can ruin somebody's night by doing that. I remember I did
yeah,
a vineyard. I can't tell you where it is or what it's called. I did it with Mike Donovan.
yeah.
I know where it was.
And anyway, you know what it was called?
Yeah, it was Avril House and
Averhouse.
Hollis,
Yeah,
I think it is.
yeah, I
Brookline?
don't know fucking
Brookline.
Brookline. That's it. Yeah, it's far away, and I didn't know what city I was in. But anyways, I was with Mike Donovan and Matt P. Brown. Great show. But in the middle of it, I was hosting, and Mike Donovan's like, "Hey, there's a lady talking. Shut that shit down." I was like,
Yeah.
very much like how he did it. But he was so forceful to me that I took that energy with me, and I went up and I just started
Gotcha.
talking, and I was like, "Hey, you have to shut the fuck up." All right.
Yeah, well, it makes us laugh. That's hilarious. So I get
People
it.
laughed, but she was like, like the whole rest of the show, she was pissed off. But I was like, "Yeah, you got to stop with your mouth. That's really what's
Yeah.
ruining this."
If I'm watching a show, it is a little different. Like, I'll get close to the person, like put my hand on them and just like make a connection so they understand it's real. If I'm on stage, it gets a little bit more terse, I guess. Like, I get a little bit more abrasive, but I also like, if they're drunk, there's nothing that they could say to me that like is going to derail all of this. One, it's an open mic. I don't care. Like, I'll just tell you, shut the fuck up if it gets to that. Or like, yeah, if I'm on stage, I'll usually give that one warning once, and then the second one will be, "Hey, we just talked. Are you new here? Like, did you? Is this your first time at a comedy show?" And if they say yes, I'm just like, "Well, you're not doing it well." Like, and just try to like make it a joke. But yeah,
Yeah, people say that are friends outside of comedy a lot. They're like, "Oh, I'm gonna go to your show. I'm gonna yell at you. That way you can light me up when you're on stage." And I'm like, "Don't."
I tell people
Do that.
when people say that, it's like I'll heckle. It's like, sure, just so you know, people pay me to be witty for a living, so good luck. Like, like this is we're in a room of people who, one, are disgruntled. Two, they're coming up with some of the funniest things that you could, like, the next comics. So it's like, it's interesting when people try to do that, and like I can see it coming too. You can see people telegraph and like get antsy and start moving around. You can see the wheels start turning, and like I try to get it as soon as possible.
I think the TikTok and all the crowd work videos really make people miss the point of what comedy shows are supposed to be. You know?
Oh yeah, it's supposed to be a monologue. I was like today. Yeah. Today I was listening to pretty much all of just George Carlin. Like I listened to it all at the time when I was driving on my job, and you can hear people heckle him, but I appreciate him because he just steamrolls them. He doesn't stop. He's got a rehearsed bit that he keeps going through, and if you can stay on book, more often than not, those people will stop after a while.
For the Memories is a lot like that.
If you give them an opening, they'll take it. And sometimes you want them to take an opening because then that'll make it easier for you in the long run because then you make something funny, making fun of a person who's just not present. That's punching down. That's rude. Well, we're all adults here. You shouldn't be heckling.
Yeah, we had a heckler on Friday. I was in Windham, Maine. And I was we were at a movie theater show at the Smitty's there, and it was sold out. And one guy was he was trying to heckle Jim McHugh, and his heckle was a character from Key and Peele. He thought Jim McHugh was ripping off. I got fucking no idea what character he was saying. He was like, he's like, "You're not Leroy." His head was down, and Jim McHugh is a crowd work guy. So he's obviously like, "What? What'd you say? This sounds good." And the guy's like, "You ain't Leroy." And he's like, "What does that mean?" He's like, "Key and Peele." And then Jim didn't know who that was. So he was like, Keenan Peele? What's that? And the guy's like, "Motherfucker, Key and Peele." And he was just... Jim has no idea who those people are. So this was the most awkward heckle I've ever heard. Because if you heckle a crowd work comedian, it normally gets turned around. And Jim did by saying, "Look at how hammered this guy was." But man, the whole show, he was just like, "You ain't Scalro from fucking Key and Peele." And he screamed this for 30 minutes of his hour. It was awesome.
Oh my God. That's, I tell everybody this, but it's like when I'm like hosting a show or something and there's something that's like unsettling, my toes curl in my boots and stuff like that. Doesn't happen often, but every once in a while it's like, I can feel it. Like that's the situations, especially if it's not a show. If it's a show I'm on, I might have like, I can talk to that person like in a nice way. I can kind of control the situation. If I'm not on the show, I'm just like, I have no control over it whatsoever. I'm just like, this is not my, it's not my barrel of monkeys, man. So it's like, it's not my clowns, not my circus. So it's just like, let it happen. So it's, yeah,
we did a show in Westford that we were running, and there was a couple old guys, wicked old drunk guys that were just like up in front. I don't know if you know Chef Phil, but he was on stage at the time, and they were just being wicked loud. And I was like taking pictures of something and doing other things. Then somebody came over and was like, "Hey, those guys are being wicked loud." And I look over, and they weren't really talking at that point, but I ran over, and my father-in-law was sitting next to them. So I ran over. I was like, "Hey, are they being loud?" And he goes, "Yeah, they're being fucking loud." And just as I was about to get up to go, like, tell them to like either quiet down or leave, the bartender knew them because there's a club attached to the hall we're in. And she goes up. She goes, "Get the fuck out of here!" I was like, holy shit!
Nice. Hell yeah!
It was awesome.
Going for a jugular on that one. Holy shit!
Oh yeah, it was great. Then they went to the back of the room, started talking again, and then the other bartender walked over and said, "Johnny, I told you to get the fuck out."
That's the kind of places we need to do shows at, or where the bartender can beat the shit out of all of us. We need those, and it's also a woman.
Yeah.
And she's like, "I will fucking kill you. My name's Destiny." And you're like, "God damn."
Hell yeah! I'm on Destiny's side. Hell, they call me Destiny's Child. No.
So I learned this only from comedy. I didn't know this beforehand, but if you are a comedian and you're doing a real show, that you're supposed to be able to say to any staff, "Get this guy a Coke," and they kick him out. Yeah. Which I thought was pretty cool. But a lot of people don't know
There's
that.
code.
So say that, and it doesn't work.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, I'm not. And then the person just brings him a Coke. It's like, I don't know why I wanted to have a Coke. Like, he's
the waitress is like, "This is gonna be $6. It's on your tab. This is $6." Like, fuck.
Oh, we didn't get the message, man. You didn't get the memo. No, that's if it's if it's at a bar, like I know, like Hotel Vernon, they treat me so well here. Like I couldn't ask for a better situation. It's like a killer room and a killer staff, but I usually see things like as they're happening, and I'll go up to the bartender and just say, just to let you know, I got something going on in here. I might need your help. Probably won't, but just in case. And then I try to nip it in the bud because it's like if you let it go, it gets wonky. It can get weird quick. So
Well, it's wonky too because there's not a lot of recourse for us. I thought about this when I was doing a New Year's Eve show. I was in the place and there were just I couldn't see anybody who worked for the hotel. Like they were just away. And I was doing jokes that were a little dark. And in my head while I'm doing the jokes, I'm like, I wonder if somebody came up and tried to kick my ass, what would happen? Because it was a full room of people, but no security, no anything like that. I was like,
yeah,
I don't know what you do, because there was one guy who was getting really hammered, and the other comedians were like, oh, we got to keep an eye on him. I'm like, and what? Like, I can't fucking fight the guy, and there's nobody
right.
here to do anything. So that is something
Well,
that
I
a
got
lot
your
of the
back
time
next time.
yeah, I know. I need you
Yeah,
there. That's what I need.
yeah. There was this happened when I was at the Improv. One of this, honestly, it's kind of one of the times I've ever actually like been really like freaked out during a show. It was I'll say I won't tell you who it was, but it was a politically charged show, and it was on the conservative side of stuff. So it's like there was an air in the room because everybody who worked at the club was like a liberal ASU college student, like right there on the campus. And it was just like they knew who was coming in. We made sure everybody was cool and whatnot. But during the show, there was a host, a co-host, and then 3 dais members. I remember I was just standing on the side, and I have like an earpiece in. I'm connected to the other security guy and the floor manager. And I remember I forgot, like, I was like looking in the back, just kind of scanning the audience and just looking. And as I look back, I hear in my ear, why is there a guy on stage? And I look back on stage and there's a guy who's like scrawny. He looks like a college kid. And, uh, before like I could act, my boss was screaming, get him out of here. Like, what's going on? And I just ran through the crowd, got up on stage and brought him off of the stage. My other security guy was there. He got out. He brought him out to the front, and like that was the end of the situation as I knew it. My boss took over everything. He posted up in there, and then he said, the next guy's gonna have a knife. And I'm just like, my eyes are wide open. The entire night I was just like on edge. I'm just like watching. I'm just like, what is going on? When any person who doesn't look like a comedian walks towards a stage or a microphone and somebody's performing, that's when my spider senses kick in, because situations have happened where it's just like, it is fun. Like what we do is like, I couldn't imagine ever doing anything other than comedy. I tell people it's like, I'm going to tell jokes until I die. But then on the other side of it, it's just like, there are situations where it gets batshit insane, lickety split. And I'm happy to have had those situations happen in controlled spaces where I'm like, it gave me a taste of how to like make sure things go smoothly. So it's like,
It's tough.
that's
You
why
don't
it's
know
like,
until you do those situations how you need to,
yeah,
how to do them. Because it really does in the headlights you when you're normal in comedy. Me and Wayne are like 18-ish months in, something like that. So still, when something happens that has never happened to us before, it can kind of stop you in your tracks. Friday,
yeah,
same thing. I was doing that Wyndham movie theater show, and we're like 5 minutes before the show's going to start. It's some guy grabs it's like a chunky, so there's like waitresses that come out to you.
yeah.
And some guy, before the show starts, grabs the waitress, drags her onto the stage, and starts, like, puts her hand around her and starts being like, this is the show. We're going to start the fucking show. And he starts...
Ooh, no.
Yeah, and so it's sold out. So I'm not in the movie theater. I'm outside in the hallway where they have this sitting down. And I just hear the microphone going. I was like, ah! And I ran over and I looked through the door. And Jim McHugh, who's huge, comes behind me and he's like just staring above me. And he looks down at me. He goes, and the show's about to start. And I was like, that's not good. And he's like, are you going to be okay with going up there now? I remember looking back at him, and I'm like, if that guy wants to be the host, he's the host. Like, there's no way. like, I'm not
This is his show. I don't know what you guys are talking about. Like,
yeah, it's pretty easy. If you want to take over a show I'm at, you just say you were taking over. Like, all right. It's
funny.
We had a situation like that a couple of months ago. Just a guy, a vagrant, who came to the bar. He walked in. He saw where it was maybe like an hour before the mic started, maybe about like an hour, maybe 45 minutes. And he walked past everybody and saw the microphone and just started talking into it. And I was outside having a smoke, and somebody came in and said, "Hey, somebody's on the microphone right now." And it was like, he knew he shouldn't have been there, like the person telling me. But I just remember walking into the ship room with like heat. And I was just like, I don't care who's on stage. I just said, get off stage. That can't happen. Not happening. Done. No. And I like got him off the stage, and I just started explaining. So this is a comedy open mic. We start at 8. You're more than welcome to sign up, but this is the list. Everybody here is going to go before you. You're going to go last. Just so you know, don't ever do that again. This isn't your space to do what you want. And he even said, it's like, well, I thought this was an open mic. I was like, yes, but there are rules, and you can't just do what you want. So it's like, and he drunkenly kind of like retorted, but I was just like, yeah, it's probably not the space for you.
Good for that guy. That guy's the genie, like ask a genie for a million wishes. That's that type of guy. He's like, what? You said I can ask for any fucking anything. This is open mic.
Yeah.
I'm allowed to take this at any time.
Anthony, do you remember the first time we went to Strange Brew? Remember the guy, the same exact thing. The guy got up on stage, he just grabbed the mic and just sat on the other stage and just started singing. He's like, what do you guys want to hear?
Oh, yeah.
I forgot about it.
I remember that. He was on pills. He was on pills, for sure.
Probably. They always are.
He was on pills. Yeah, there was some kid, I don't want to blow him up because people still know him around here. And it wasn't him, but it was him adjacent because it was his friend that he brought in and talk about vagrant. But anyways, this kid at every open mic would be so blastedly high that he would pace behind the room before he did his set, like, I'm gonna fucking crush this, and he'd go up, bomb, and then he'd go and sit in a chair in the back and go, and die in a chair, basically. Like, we thought he was dead a couple times. You know what I'm talking about, Wayne.
I sure do.
We look back and
you know who we're talking about, John.
Yeah, John
everybody knows who we're talking about.
Yeah, but anyway,
tell me later, and I'll be like, yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, he brought a vagrant with him once who was also on that amount of drugs, and the kid just went on stage and he just started rapping. He's like, "Oh, baby." I was like, he's pretty good. He's better than the rest of us at what he's doing. Like, he was singing like a good song. That sucks.
And then he does comedy and bombs.
No, he didn't do comedy. That was the thing. It was a smart move because this is the thing. When you're doing stand-up comedy at an open mic, you're saying the most embarrassing things you can say into that microphone. So when someone comes up and they grab it and they try to be embarrassing, sometimes they're even less embarrassing than you. And that's, I don't know, that's sad. Like, this kid was singing, and even through heroin, you're like, that's pretty good. He's got good soulful.
Hey, it worked for Keith Richards. Like,
there was another guy at Strange Brew, probably a couple months in. He had never done comedy before, and he's like, "Yeah, I've never done stand up, but I don't really like to stand. You know what, I'm gonna do lay down comedy." And he laid down on the stage, and he just closed his eyes and just talked. And he got past 5 minutes. Ben was lighting him, but he wasn't looking at it because had his eyes closed. 6 minutes goes by. Ben's like, trying to get his attention.
He's lying down this whole time?
Yep,
he's lying down for 6 minutes?
Horizontally.
Wow.
Eyes closed. He got to about 7 minutes, and Ben started shutting the lights on, like the whole lights of the whole room on and off. And then he's like,
there you go.
Get off the stage. And he's like, oh shit, did I hit my time? He's like, yeah, like almost double, dude. Get the fuck off.
Yeah. That's when we at the Vernon, we have, like, it's got a nice vibe in there. It's like a dark lit bar. Love a dark lit dive bar. But we also have the house lights, and if the house lights come on, I should start doing that, where it's like, if you're running your set, just flicked on the big lights and it'll be blinding. There's no way you're gonna
Mhm.
miss it because the entire room lights up. But there was a couple of weeks ago at another open mic, one of my contemporaries. There was a guy who was running his time, and the host was standing behind him, like waiting for him to finish. And he was like, "I don't care. I'll do whatever I want." And then I faked like I was going to go to the bathroom, and just in one smooth motion, reached up, grabbed the clip with the microphone, pulled it out, and handed it to the host in the back. And the host was looking at me like, "Wait, what am I holding right now?" The guy realized that nothing was coming out, and then the host started dying laughing because he's like, "Oh, that's great." And he just took it and he plugged in the microphone. He was like, "Keep it going for this comic, yeah." So I was just like, I protect everybody else's mic too.
Smart. Yeah,
Yeah.
I like watching Obi-Wan Kenobi take down a fucking person on stage when they've gone too far, especially because if he does like one of his classes and he does a showcase afterwards, he doesn't always know
Yeah.
the people that are doing the showcase, obviously. So
Right.
he'll get a couple people that will try to push him, and man, he's like a stand next to the side of the stage, like, all right, give it up for this fucking guy, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
And you're not
I
going to
don't know.
stop
I
him.
don't know who would mess with the Wreck-It Ralph. Like, it's just like he's
Yeah, exactly.
just a imposing human. So
He's got big clap mitts too. He's got big fucking catcher's mitts for hands. So when he
yeah,
claps,
it's
because
like
he never claps for us, but when he claps at you, it's pretty awesome.
he's you're the students. He's the sensei. Bow to your sensei.
Yeah, but Wayne did a class there, and some guy, how many minutes over does that guy go? Like, double the time?
He was supposed to do 5. I think he got to 8 before Mike started rushing the stage. Which was
Yeah,
surprising.
and it's like,
to me,
man,
'cause
the whole
I feel like he
point.
would have done it a lot earlier, but
People say that they take classes. You took classes, John. People say that they took classes to get better at comedy, and I tell all those people that they're liars. No, that you're not. You're there because you're meeting the instructor, who's probably a real comedian, and you can get it on a real show. That's why you go to those things. So then, to me, to have a guy just burn every bridge in the room immediately by doing that, like, what was the point?
the funny thing about that guy
Yeah.
was he was commenting on it. He's like, "Oh yeah, I'm probably gonna get kicked off soon." Like, he saw the
To acknowledge it, that's ballsy. That sounds almost like it's like that's just disrespect. Like,
You have
I
to
don't
be
know how else to
really
say
good
that.
to do that. For you to ignore, if
he
Dave
wasn't.
Attell's up there and he sees a light and he's like, "Hey, there's a light there," and I'm still going, that's like
Yeah.
you know what you're doing and you're 100% in control.
If
This
he's
kid's
cooking,
like,
that's why it's like I have people who come to the mic, and every once in a while we'll get lightning strike. I'll be just fine as long as you're entertaining, not really being that big of a dick. You're cool. You're cool. But yeah, more often than not, it's somebody who doesn't know what's happening or they don't see the light or something.
What I loved about
What's
that
funny
guy-
is where I do the. Go ahead.
I was just saying. So back then, Mike was using a red light and he's shining on the back of the wall. He said, "If you go too far over,
Right.
I'm going to hit you right in the fucking pupils with it." And us in the class, we were sitting off to the side, and we just saw this kid's face just light up red. And I'm sure everybody else was like, "What the fuck's going on?" And we were like, "Oh."
I try to be
I like-
cognizant
I like
of it because
both.
when I was doing comedy, I would always, when I wasn't doing comedy and I'd go to shows, I'd always notice the light when they would light somebody, and I'm like, oh, that must mean it's time to get off stage, and it would take me out of it. And so I'm always trying to if I'm doing a cell phone, I'm putting my hand in front of it and doing this so like only they can see it, or we do the lights we actually turn the colors of it so only they know.
Yeah.
But then sometimes you gotta just. I saw one guy. It was at a real show, and the feature was going over too much. And the guy who owned the company of the show just went over to the spotlight and put his hand over the spotlight, and the whole room got dark. And then he took it off and did it a bunch of times. I'm like, well, sometimes I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, it's when I was at the comedy club, we had an LED pin light, and I would just keep it on my shirt. The worst I ever saw it was, it was egregious. He was supposed to do 15 minutes. He did 25. And it was not good. I know him very well. I think he's funny, but this was not his night. and somebody had dropped in to do an actual guest spot, and he ran by almost 10 minutes, and I'm like you just like a little bloop, like a little pin pick, and then at like 20 minutes, I'm like shaking the light violently, and you can see it like moving around the sound booth. And at one point, I'm like, he looked at me, like he saw me give him the light, and I was just like, whatever. He's the guy. He was a talent, so it's whatever. But
Yeah,
no,
you must
if
have got
we're
a lot of
talking
people
about
pop into
open,
that club because that's a club that real headliners pop into every week, right?
oh yeah, no, it's the two I worked for in Phoenix were the Tempe Improv and then the House of Comedy with Rick Bronson,
Hmm.
and there were days where I was meeting like idols. I got to work with Sinbad. That was cool before he had his stroke. Not even gotten to see him, but I saw like one night we were just hanging outside. Brian Callen showed up, and I'm just like stoned out of my fucking gourd. I'm like, oh, that's Brian Callen. And then he comes over and he talks to everybody. It's just like, this is absolutely wild. Who was the biggest drop in we had? We had somebody drop in one time, and I was just like, I forgot. No, that was here. That was here. I went to go see a show in Boston, and then they said Chris DiStefano is going to do a guest spot, a 7-minute guest spot
Amazing.
at Laugh Boston. And I went, who the fuck was I going to see? I forgot who I was going to see, but I just remember seeing, like, oh, I'm probably going to be like a Boston comic. And then they said, guys, put your hands together for Chris DiStefano. And then it was weird because it was like he wasn't used to doing a 7-minute set. Because if you, like, I watch his Sunday night shows. Every week he posts his new set on YouTube. And he'll just go into jokes, and then he'll start doing crowd work, and then he'll go into jokes. And it was funny because he just did crowd work, but he was also talking about the stuff that were referencing jokes that he had not even done. So it was an interesting spot. But
Oh, maybe he was working on a set then if he was doing that,
Yeah.
for like a bigger show or something. Yeah, I was talking to Zach Valencia last week, and he told me that just a week earlier he was doing a show in Boston somewhere at just a small little place, and Louis C.K., Dan Soder, Joe List, and I think like Joe List's wife does comedy, something like that, came in.
yeah,
And we're like, oh, can we be on the show? And then Louis is like, hey, I'm going to host. Takes over, goes up, hosts the show, brings up Dan Soder, Joe List, and that girl, and then does an hour himself afterwards. And everybody's like, oh my God. And I guess he's been doing that for months now. Like, he's just been popping in to work out his stuff in Boston.
that's fun. I would tell him, I'll host. This is my microphone. You didn't buy it. I'll host. Chill out. Go jerk off in a closet somewhere, but I'll be okay.
Get out of here,
This is
Louis.
my house.
Yeah, if he told me to kill somebody at the mic, I would do it, for sure. Do it in a second.
Just make sure you have their consent.
I will kiss somebody to death if you want.
That was funny. Like, I do like when every once in a while it will happen where somebody who's got notoriety and prestige and like legit credits will show up at an open mic, and you're like, it was weird because if you don't know who they are, man, it can get a little weird. But one time we were down in Phoenix, and it was about 11:30 at night, and I don't know if you guys know the name Preacher Lawson. He was on America's Got Talent and whatnot. He was in town for a headlining show on the weekend, but he stopped into the open mic, and we were all looking at him like, I know this guy. I know him from somewhere, but I can't really put my finger on it. Pardon me. Ew, that was hacky. Like, I can't place him. And then, like, the open mic host, he's like, who is that? Somebody came by, like, 5 minutes later. He was like, hey, that's the headliner at the Improv this weekend. And he had signed up. We were on 10. He was number 36. So it was just like, just get him out of here. And he hung around all night, which was, like, super cool. Nobody talked to him. I wasn't, like, in a position to, like, engage with him meaningfully. I was just some shit kicker open micer. So it was like I didn't even have anything going. I barely
Good for
even had
him
it.
though, for fucking getting on the list and then just waiting a spot, not putting it. Oh man, I would be a monster
I love
immediately.
it.
I think if I was like headlining, I'd be like, "Hey, all you other pieces of shit, the real man's in town. I'm going
Yeah,
sixth.
yeah.
Put me
And
sixth."
that's 18 months in.
Exactly. I'm there right now. I totally do it all the time.
Yeah, no, I like I appreciate sometimes, like, I'll give anybody an accommodation, especially if they're coming from far away. I've told you guys this specifically. If you're
Yeah.
coming in from a distance off, let me know, and I will give you literally whatever spot you want.
Oh, damn.
Like,
I'm coming down.
so, yeah, no, if you want to go first, you're more than welcome to go bullet. Most of the time, this mic gets going around maybe 10 to 15. So it's like, if you want to show up during that, or like say, I want to go number 15, you don't have to go first. That's the other thing that people don't realize about open mics. You don't have to go. You can go when you want. And like, sometimes it's a gamble. Sometimes it's like, am I going to go up first? And is it going to go well? Are we going to have people? Is it just going to be comedians? Or is it going to be like, am I going to go up 11th and just absolutely annihilate? So you never know. Or it could be done. So it's,
That's an interesting point because most open mics are like, let's say an open mic's 3 hours.
yeah.
There's probably 30 minutes of good show in a 3 hour thing, and it's kind of spread out throughout it. And if you're in that pocket, you're going to have a good open mic. And if you pick outside of that, you're usually going to be at a time where people are either talking, not there, or all the comics have left already. So it is an art picking your spot on an open mic. That's for sure.
Yeah. I've gotten to the point where it's like, if I'm not running the mic, I am completely OFP. Like, I am my own fucking program. Like, I'm just doing like I'm smoking weed. I'm talking to people outside. I always make sure also I'm like talking to people outside of the space where nobody can hear me, because I don't want to disrupt the folks on stage. Which I wish a lot more people figured that out. But you know what? Whatever.
Oh my god, you're completely right. Yeah, I mean, there is sometimes though where there you get a posse outside. You're like, we're being really respectful. We're not talking inside of this room when there's a mic going on. But then the host joins you outside, and then someone does 30 seconds instead of 5 minutes, and then you're like, the room's empty for a while.
I love that. That's and then it's funny too, because I've done this too, where it's like a new comic will go up and do 3 of 5 minutes, and then I'll have that problem, like where I'll be like grabbing a drink, or I get stuck at the bar, I'm taking a toke or something, whatever. But then the experienced person goes up and they only want to say like 1 or 2 things, like work out. This goes to speak to like what I tell people is like, use the time judiciously. Have like some like a concerted time, like you're focusing on what exactly you want to say and hitting marks. But it's like, there are people who have done that where they go up, who I know that they can do 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and like it's good 30 minutes, and then they literally only do like 2 minutes, and then I'm just like, what the fuck are you doing? You know enough to know that you don't see me in the room. Like, that's why it's like we have a standing order here. It's like, every time if I'm out of the room and somebody gets off the stage, one of the cadre of hosts we have will go up and kind of like take it over, and then I just got to come back in the room and just like sheepishly go, all right, cool, I'll just go fucking walk into a fucking storm door or something. I don't care.
Yeah, like, Justin George, huge piece of shit, friend of the show. He went to your
huge friend of the piece of shit.
God. It's really, I call Jacques a famous piece of shit, but Justin is like literally famous for being a piece of, because he's done so many. He's been in the news for doing such incredible things, and I hate him. I don't know. Like, he found an old lady that got lost, all that. But anyways, so I hate you, Justin. But he will go to a mic, and he'll be like, I want to work on this joke. And then he'll go up, do the joke, and be like, all right, I worked on that joke, bye. And he'll get off. And it's so funny because he doesn't tell the host or anything, and he'll just scramble the brains of the host by doing that. I've seen him go up and do a minute and a half, just like and not bomb, like did the minute and a half joke he wanted to do and go okay, and he'd be like, Oh, nice. All right, that's all I got. Bye.
I've done that too. It's like I like doing that, where it's like the last time I did it was a couple years ago at another mic, and my friend was hosting. It was really gracious, but I was thinking about I don't even probably do the joke anymore. But like I just remember the entire day thinking exactly what I'm gonna say. Like I was driving for Amazon at the time, and while I'm running around doing packages, I'm listening to stand-up comedy. I was really big into Mark Maron's What the Fuck, and like I was like really focused on comedy. So I had 3 lines I wanted to say, and it was a pretty good open mic, and I hit every single mark, and I was like, I'm done. Here, take the mic. That was good. He's like, you sure? I was like, absolutely. That couldn't have gone any better. And like I said, I probably don't even tell the joke anymore. I forgot what it was.
That is how you know you're a veteran right there. You were like, nope, I only know it's downhill from here, so I'm fucking going to get
Yeah,
off it.
pretty much. Well, also on Justin George, the last time he came to the Vernon, he did something that I absolutely love, and I wish I personally could do it more often. But he Irish goodbye, and that's like that is so nice. Like I was at a show last week. It was the roast battle at the Rockwell, and I remember like saying, like making my like piece with like the comics at the back, and then I looked and there's just like 30 comics in front of me. I'm just like, this is a fucking nightmare. Like I don't like I gotta go and say face with every single person. Like, hey, it was good to meet you. Hey, it was good to meet you. Peace be with you. Fuck off. Kiss his ass. Kiss my ass and shit like that. So it's like an Irish goodbye is just mwah. Oh,
Yeah,
so
and
nice.
I will give Justin this. I don't want to give him almost anything, but he is an Irish goodbyer who doesn't talk about the Irish goodbye after he does it. I have a
Yeah.
pet peeve of the Irish. Like the whole point of an Irish goodbye is that there's no evidence of it. You don't talk about it. But man, it
Right.
feels like every person who Irish goodbyes has to tell you that they're an Irish goodbyer, and I always
Yeah.
tell them that you know that every person who says that they're an Irish goodbyer is the person that no one gives a shit about that they left. Those people are always the ones like, I left you. And everybody's like, who?
Who's
I
that
left
guy?
you and you thought you could keep going. Was your night over as soon as I left the room? It's like, no, nobody gives a fuck. Nobody
cares.
cares.
That's why I think it's nice when it's like right now there's a music open mic and they're all of like a fairly tight knit community. I don't think anybody's gonna Irish goodbye. But like with comics, I think we're a little bit different. We run the gambit of mental deficiencies, illnesses, and impairments. So it's just like some people get awkward in front of people. I was just like, do what you want. You're only in this as much as you want to be. And if you want to just like dip out, cool.
Yes. Everybody who says they're going to Irish goodbye, I wish they would Japanese goodbye themselves. That's a good way I think that's
Yeah.
pieces of shit.
A man's fate is a man's fate, and life is but an illusion.
All right, Wayne, we're close to an hour. You got anything else you want to pop off before we end the sucker?
I haven't asked this question in a while, but I'm curious with you. If you were to recommend one comedy special for me to watch that you think I may have never seen before, what would you recommend?
One comedy special. I'm a classic guy just because I was listening to him today. I think one of my favorite George Carlin specials was George Carlin Class Clown. That has to be at least somewhere in the sphere of what you're watching. And then also, like not big specials, but the 30 minutes from Comedy Central back in the like the aughts and stuff like that. Like back in the day, those were like when for maybe the last 2 months, I've been leaving the open mic and then going home and like winding down for the night and watching at least 3 or 4 30 minutes on comedy. So it's just like those, and you'll see all the headliners now, like Adam Ferreira, Louis C.K., one of his first 30 minutes, Ron White, like it's all of them, Mark Maron.
Yeah.
So it's just like watching those, because then you can also see like when we first started talking, we were saying about like you can see the progression.
Yep.
Like Mark Maron back in the like I think it was like 1998 when they first started doing this. He was one of the first 5 people to do it. You can see his progression going from just the angry, neurotic guy to the laid back, cool. What are we doing? Why are we doing this? I don't know. I'm just gonna talk and play guitar. Like you can see the change in it. It's just like that would be a good thing to watch.
That's what I came up
George
with.
Carlin Class Clown.
Those Comedy Central specials, the premium blends and the 30-minute specials, all that shit. That's what got me really into stand up. You know, back when I was probably right around that 98, 99 when they first started. I remember watching those like crazy. That's really what got me into it.
Do you remember Whose Line Is It Anyway with the red line set?
Yeah.
Like,
of course.
yeah,
that's
like
that's
back,
the set.
like, yeah, that was like back before Drew Carey was on there and stuff. Like, it was like, I would watch that with my father, and then, like, I was about as close to a latchkey kid as you could get on the weekends with my parents still being around. They didn't give a fuck. I would just walk out the door and just be on my own. Like, when I was a toddler, cops would bring me back all the time, and my family's just like, he just keeps getting out. Like, but, so when I got to, like, TV, and I would beat the night. Like, if it was like a Friday or Saturday night, I would stay up all night, more often than not, would watch, like, Comedy Central, and then that one channel that kind of squiggly. Like, I miss the squiggly
every once in a
channel.
while. You get those,
Oh,
get
God.
that squiggly titty.
Oh, I loved it. Channel 38. Like, I'll never forget it. Like,
yeah. Mine was 76 and 82. That was the two that I had. We had 2 of them. You would have a better chance of getting on the 76 because that was like Skinamax. That's what that one was. It was still scrambled, but for some reason they were like, whatever, don't scramble the sound. So you would just see like scrambling, and you'd hear like, ooh, ooh. I've been watching.
Well,
that.
we know you have an auditory kink, like.
Yeah, exactly. Now I only listen to donkeys having sex. That's the only way I can do it.
Oh, so you did hear me having that one night. All right, cool.
Yeah, no, that was great because if you would, I mean, to this day, I mean, you could set up channel 82 in front of me and scramble the screen, and that'll probably be the quickest I can finish. Would probably be on there. That's for sure.
Just turn it on. Done.
Yeah, no, there's definitely that was definitely the way to get TV back then. But yeah, no, I did watch. So Dane Cook's 30 minutes on Comedy Central.
Yeah, the one where they told him chill, like don't run around, don't acknowledge the camera, but he like hits it at one point. This is like,
yep. Yeah, he is a really interesting one because it's really cool to like. I was talking to Steve Bjork and Mike and all these guys who were there back then, and they all know Dane, which is pretty cool because he's the one that all of them were like, we didn't see that one coming. Who told us that they saw Dane Cook coming? Was it John Tobin, Wayne?
Yeah, John Tobin.
He was the one that said that?
Yep.
He's the only one that I've heard that said, like, I knew he was going to be big. Everybody else is like, we did not understand how he got to where he got to.
Yeah. Like, there's a couple of people in our scene who are just like, they have had that moniker placed on them, but I don't agree. I'm just like, watch him, because he's a great writer. He's a great, a phenomenal stage presence, and it's just like, somebody one time after a contest said he's a little Dane Cookish, and I'm just like, I don't agree with that at all. Also, Dane Cook is funny.
Yeah.
Like, Superfinger, the 30 minutes. Yeah, so it's just like, it's weird to me when folks who are doing open mics have the opinion of, like, Louis C.K. and Dane Cook. It's like, just because they sell out stadiums doesn't mean they're good. I'm just like, that's specifically what it means.
Yeah.
Like, if you can put seats, if you can fill 20, 30, 50,000 seats, Louis C.K., people are talking about him not being able to come back. I was like, the homie's back. Like, he's been back.
Oh, yeah.
Like, he's still selling out arenas and stuff, and he's still running his, like, material. So it's like, the idea of, like, open micers saying, like, Dane Cook is like hacky. I'm just like, but he's doing it.
You know what I think it is too? I think when you, like, I noticed if I'm traveling around doing a lot of like shows at function halls and inns and all of those, and you're getting those slightly older crowds, you know what I'm talking about? Like
Yeah.
you know those crowds, and you get those
Oh,
all
yeah.
the time. I bet Dane would bomb in front of a crowd like that, and I bet he did back then. But then you get like
Yeah.
the Knicks Comedy Stop and all those like those younger based crowds, and I bet he
Yeah.
fucking murdered there, and that's where he was murdering because of that style, and I bet that's why people didn't like him. Because I could see if you're going around crushing oldies and you see a young kid go up and eat shit, you're like, yeah, you'll learn someday how to do this stand up thing. Because
Right.
those guys are usually more cerebral, and they'll take like the more like jokes about your wife and kids and all that. And but Dane was doing like Burger King jokes and shit like that that I think only kids could fucking assimilate to.
Yeah.
But it was so good for what it was. That's I gotta get better at that. You could
I like how
definitely
he
be
moved
out.
around a lot. Like that was my thing. It's like I liked his movements, and that's why. Like I've received the note a bunch of times where it's like if you move around, it'll distract from what you're saying. But then it's just like specifically his 30 minutes where he's like literally going back from one side of the stage to the other, and he's like getting down on it. At one point, he's like, I remember during the credits, he gets off the stage, and he starts humping a woman, but I
Yeah.
think it was either his girlfriend or his sister or something, and like when I saw that, also another big inspiration of mine was Jim Brewer.
Hmm.
So he moves around and he inflects when he talks. He uses his hand, he uses his body, he talks like this. And so it's just like when people say it's like, why do you do that? I'm just like, I don't know, because I fucking want to.
Yeah,
Like,
if you could stay in the pocket while you're doing that, it's good. Problem I had is when I first started doing comedy, I'd pace around a lot, but I'd be looking at the ground the whole time, and I'd be walking
yeah,
around thinking about my jokes, looking at the ground. I realized that when I stopped and tried to connect with them, I would look
yeah,
at them, and so I have to do it that way. But you see Dane or even you, when you go and you move around, I see you. Your eyes are up. You're looking at them, trying to make connections as you go. So I
I
think as long as you do that,
love looking at people in the eye.
yeah, you got to.
And
In my opinion, you got to do
if
that.
if somebody goes up before me, this happened last night at the open mic. The guy who went up directly before me, he was doing that where he's like newer, and he's like looking at the ground, he's looking at his notes, and he was saying um and he's like looking at the ground, and I'm just like, oh, I'm about to do great. I didn't, but like uh, it's like it definitely felt nice to be able to like just be a different. It's than the comic that was up before me. And it's like I
Yeah,
look at people right in the eye. I have no problem staring anybody right in the eye.
and you know how to make a connection now, which I think is
Yeah.
something that you take for granted when you start learning how to do that. Where you're like, man,
Yeah.
I'm bombing a lot less than normal. I wonder what it is. And really, it comes down to like now when I'm doing my joke, I'm delivering it to a person. Like I'm trying to like, here's this joke, take it. Where before I'm
Yeah.
just saying a joke out loud. And
I
this
appreciate
is
that distinction. That's cool.
yeah,
Yeah.
Will Noonan told Sam Buck, who then told me. So this is how far down this fucking advice was given to me. But
Yeah.
the quote was, "They have to know you're in the room with them, or they're not going to think it's funny."
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's to me. I'm trying to think about that every time I'm up there now. Like, all right, do something so that they know you're here, and people who don't know comedy like to feel like you're coming up with it on the spot. It's almost like professional
Right.
wrestling, where professional wrestling fans like, I know it's fake, but I like to in the moment like believe that
Yeah.
it's real because you get into it more. So you have to create that illusion that you're coming up with it for the first time, even if you're not. It's professional wrestling. You
Yeah.
have to. What did they say, Wayne? What's the mufob or whatever? What's the word in wrestling where you gotta
Kayfabe.
koof kayfabe? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
What's
Don't
that?
don't give it up. So in wrestling, they say, Wayne, you explain it, please. I'm gonna explain it stupidly. Kayfabe.
Kayfabe is basically just keep basically keeping in the pocket of your character, and even when
Yeah,
you're
like
not
if
in the
you're in
ring,
wrestling and someone is, yeah,
like, even if you're
pretend
not in the
it's
ring, like,
real.
let's say
That's
you're
what
all
kayfabe
going to
means.
a restaurant together. The heels and the baby faces aren't sitting at the same table joking around. So, they're over there giving mean muggets to the baby faces. You know what I mean? So just kind of keep it in the pocket with your character and putting on that show at all times.
Heard. I gotcha.
Yeah, Daniel Day
Yeah, I've
Lewis
never heard
yourself.
that term before.
Yeah, kayfabe. Yeah, I've been thinking about that for comedy because everybody knows that this is a routine that you're coming up with, They do, but inherently, when you got a crowd and you're doing good, they don't think that in the moment. They are like listening to your story like it's the first time you're telling it. So that's how you know you're doing it right. If you're doing it so that people break the fourth wall all the time, and you have to be so good at, like Louis C.K. We're talking about him. He's got a joke that he was like, I was at the mall last week. Well, I'm lying. I wasn't at the mall. I'm making this up for the fucking joke, and then he starts the joke. Very funny, very good how he does it, set up right. But man, can that tank you when people are just like, yeah. This isn't a. There's an ostrich in a fucking Galapagos. I saw him last week. I had sex with him, and you're like, you didn't do any of that, and I'm out of it now. Like you gotta believe.
I think, and I tell people this all the time. It's like, out of all the shows that I've done and the thousands of times I've done it, I would say probably maybe a handful right now feel like it went as smooth as it could have gone. And specifically it wasn't the competition with Mike this year, which I bombed horribly. I was not in a good spot. I felt awful that night. But the year prior when I placed, that felt so smooth because everything was coming off so quickly, and I was engaging with people like right in the front of the audience. And I was just like, this is so much fun.
I know, isn't it annoying? It doesn't happen every time you do the same set and you eat shit. You're like, what the fuck? It worked so good.
Seriously, before. It's just I listen to that set like to motivate myself when I'm like on my way somewhere. If I'm doing 10 minutes, I have a 10-minute set that I know is good and like I like listening to. That was the 5-minute set where I'm just like, that was so much fun. And
people are people.
To answer your question, George Carlin, class clown. No.
That's it. That was the last question. All right, that's it. Everybody, go see Jon Fletcher. Hotel Vernon does lots of mics. Very funny. We love him.
Thursday nights at 8.
Thursday nights at 8, everybody. And then go see Wayne, Japanese, goodbying himself at a venue near you. Bye!
Bye, everyone.
Wait, no. Go ahead, Wayne. I didn't say Quest for Laughs. Go ahead, get it in there.
No, I was going to say this Friday.
No, Wayne's good.
Yeah. Doing a show.
Oh, yeah, please, God, the show's not over yet. Hold on. We're back in. Please go to that fucking show. We need you there, everybody. A venue was like, hey, do you want to do a show on short notice? And we're like, no one's going to be there, but we'll try. So we're trying. Get fucking over there, please.
I've done shows where it's I've had months of preparation and it goes exactly how I wanted it. And then I've also done a show where it's was like a week prior, no advertisement at all, and it still went well. And I just like the comedy gods were with me that day, but you know,
Wayne's a comedy Jew, so I don't think we got good things ahead for us. But we'll see. Mazel. Good night, y'all. See you later.
Good night, brother. Take care, guys.
Thanks, Tom. We're back in.